Hi guys, thanks so much for watching. Speaking of, I'm Stephanie, and today I'm here with Dawn Taylor, who is the CEO of AmplifiedAg. And that is a company, a holding company that has within it Tiger Corner Farms, Vertical Roots, and also Boxcar Central. So I'm excited to talk to Dawn today hear about that journey, how he got there, and learn more about the business. So Dawn, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I was saying before we started that I was trying to research you before our call, and I know you a little bit from a previous company, but it's pretty hard to find information about you. I'm impressed with your ability to remain out of the spotlight for as many high-level positions as you've had and currently have. What kind of skills are you using there? Do you have some kind of, how in the world do you stay off the internet?
Well, I don't know. I think over the years, I've just come to find that focus is a really important aspect of being successful. And just for me personally, man, I see the value in a lot of what's going on, but at the same time, there's also a lot of value in just keeping your head down and getting the job done. And when we're looking at the new company, I don't believe in going out and doing big press releases and telling our competitors what we're doing and what we're not doing. And, I think it's more important just to focus on getting the job done, keeping our customers happy, providing a quality product, and the rest of it will work itself out.
You're stealthy like a tiger, appropriately named with the Tiger Corner Farms.
Exactly.
So with that, I really genuinely don't know about your background. So where did you grow up? How did you form your interest in STEM and technology?
Yeah, so I grew up in Framingham, Massachusetts. So a lot of people don't like to hear this, but I'm a Patriots fan,
Oh no.
Sox fan, Bruins fan, and Celtics fan.
I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'm in that. I don't want to hear that. I'm a Steelers fan.
Yeah, and I grew up playing hockey, so that was really most of my up through high school. That's what I did with the vast majority of my time when I wasn't getting in trouble. And then when I got out, I joined the Navy when I got out of high school. This is how much I really thought through it. I went on a road trip around the United States with a buddy. We ended up in San Diego. I saw these Navy ships and all these people that looked like it was kind of cool. So when I got back to Massachusetts, I didn't have anything better to do. So I joined the Navy.
Oh, wow.
And spent 4 years on a fast frigate as an electrician. So I went through electrician school, then spent 4 years on a frigate, got to go to the Mediterranean a couple times, and traveled around the world, so that was kind of fun. And then when I got out of the Navy, I didn't really know what I was going to do, so I did a lot of odd things for multiple years. And somewhere along the way, I was introduced to, so this would have been in like the mid-'80s thereabouts. I was introduced to, at this time, programming was very, very early stage. I mean, there was not a lot of, there weren't a lot of computers. I was given a chiclet keyboard that plugged into the TV where you could write basic code, and I wrote a couple lines of code and something popped up on the screen and never looked back. And I just became extremely passionate about writing code. That's what I did I did it 16 hours a day, every day. And it took me a long time to get a job. I mean, at that time, the industry was pretty tight. I programmed for probably 5 years just on my own, just writing code, and got a job as a computer operator at a health clinic, and did that job for probably 5 years, still writing code the whole time. I finally convinced the manager there that I could write code, and he gave me a job, COBOL, CICS programming job. And that's what got me really into programming. The economy in Massachusetts in the late 80s got really bad. A lot of the tech companies were shutting down. So, and I loved Charleston. We moved back to Charleston. I got a job with actually First Federal at Charleston, which was acquired a couple of times by now. I did development for them for probably around 5 years. Then I joined Cambar Software, which was a warehouse management software company in Charleston. And that's where I really got to understand logistics and supply chain and the complexities that go along with that. I did a number of large warehouse management implementations. somewhere in there, I decided that it'd be cool to have my own company. So I formed Boxcar Central in 2002 it's basically right when SaaS it wasn't even called SaaS, then it was ASP. But built a third-party logistics multi-tenant platform for third-party logistics companies, which are basically companies that own warehouses and they move product around for manufacturers. And that company basically ran for up and still to this day. And around 6 years into that, I went to work at Benefit Focus. I got to know Sean and the team over there. And my little warehouse management company was not growing very fast. And I had a bunch of friends that were actually at Benefit Focus and saw the huge opportunity there. So I went and worked with Sean and ultimately became the CTO there, and then retired in 2015. And about the time I retired, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, that's kind of how I got into this whole farming business. So there's my life in a snapshot.
That is amazing. I love that you just joined the Navy on a whim. Yeah. Just seemed like a neat thing, but it seems like being part of doing the electronics training or the electrical training in that still probably had that same kind of, math science trigger as what you're doing now.
Yeah, it was definitely my first foray into, I definitely like putting things together, seeing how things work.
That's amazing. Was there anything in your time then, was there anything that you were always fascinated with farming or anything like that struck your interest or that maybe you saw while you were overseas, or that just came out later?
That just came out later. Yeah. If you had told me I was going to be a lettuce farmer 20 years ago, I would have just laughed at you.
That seems like a theme though. You seem like you're just going there and then you see something and you really seize that opportunity, which is really neat. Yeah. I don't know that many people have the nerve to do that.
Yeah, nerve or ignorance, whatever you call it.
Well, it's working for you. What was it like going from having your own company to then going into the startup world of Benefit Focus and then leaving Benefit Focus and going back to now it's your own thing and now you have this whole other flourishing business?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because going 5 or 6 years without a paycheck early in your career was a fairly stressful period of time. So stepping back into a stable environment was good, but it ultimately it also taught me that as I went into that environment and then left, I actually left and came back. And I made a couple maneuvers in there. It is that it's the right way to run a company, to let people chase their passions. And if somebody, I always believe that if somebody leaves the company for the right reasons, then I always would love for them to come back whenever the opportunity presents itself. And I felt was a very important life management skill that I learned, and it has paid off multiple times where people have come back who they went off and chased a dream and then came back for whatever reason. So that was certainly a big part of it. And then really just learning how to go from a little startup where I'm struggling to provide paychecks to, over a pretty short period of time, managing hundreds of people and all of the complexities that go along with that. Then we went through the IPO, so I got to experience that side of it, which all of those elements really teed me up and to make another run at building the company.
That's so awesome. And so whenever you left Benefit Focus and you said you retired and just kind of looking for what you were going to do next, you had no idea that farming was going to be your thing?
No, none.
How did farming just pop into your life then?
Well, I had bought a farm. Well, it's technically a farm, I guess, but it wasn't a functioning farm out west of Charleston. And I got to know a lot of the farmers out there, and I let them use my land. So there was a couple of them that were growing corn on my property. And I would leave for work in the morning. They'd be out working. I'd get back at night at dark. They'd be under their tractor, fixing the tractor. And and also I'd spend a lot of time flying back and forth to India through Benefit Focus. it started to develop an understanding that the world is facing a pretty big crisis regarding the production of food. And in India, it was horrible. And as I started to study it more and got to understand what the local farmers were doing, realized that the United States also has a really serious problem. And I don't even know that many people really know about it. So I took that, and I was also trying to figure out how to create an environment to give back to the community. And I loved being out at my farm. I mean, I had some animals and stuff, but I never really did farming. But I loved the environment and the feel of it, and thought that it would be a great community type of engagement angle to take. And somewhere around in there, I met, through a mutual friend, a couple of Amish guys in Pennsylvania who were building aeroponic systems in greenhouses, and I went up there, saw it, and then it's like the light shined on me. I'm like, all right, I got it. You know, growing inside, there's a lot of very positive things that can come out of that. So that's sort of how I got there.
What's the difference? You said aeroponic. What's the difference between aeroponic and hydroponic?
So aeroponic, you atomize the water. So you basically pressurize the nutrient water and deliver it in a mist to the roots of the plants. So they don't touch the plant itself, just the roots. Hydroponic is where the roots are generally sitting in water. So there's water running. Like if you look, the backdrop that I have is a hydroponic system. So there's water running through those channels nonstop. If it was aeroponic, there'd be a periodic mist in those channels. And the aeroponic is just more complex. There's more moving pieces to it.
And so do you use all aeroponic, or is it both?
We're all hydroponic now.
Okay, hydroponic.
We started off aeroponic, and about a year down the path, we realized that we could not grow a consistent plant at large scale with that model. We just couldn't make it work right. So that's what caused us to shift.
So what happens when you come home and tell your now wife that you're going to be a farmer?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, she was very busy at Benefit Focus, so I don't know that she was really paying attention to what I said. It's probably the bigger part of it. But, you know, we really started the company, myself and Stephanie, my daughter, after I had retired. We kind of went through this whole path, went through a lot of research. It was really an altruistic exercise. I mean, there was no intention of building it. At this point, a year in, I still did not think we were building a big company. It was more a fun project. I'm a technology person, so I started playing with Raspberry Pis and figured out how to do the sensors and all the control systems inside of the farms, early stage stuff. So it was still having fun at this point. And we decided to build in shipping containers, got a couple of them built, and somewhere around in there began to realize that there's also a massive market opportunity, that 95% of the lettuce in the United States comes from California and Arizona. You do more digging, people are wanting to buy local food, so then all of a sudden it made a lot of sense to go big. So then we started thinking, well, we would just sell the farms. So we built the farms, sell the software. And then a little bit further down the path, realized that if we weren't actually farming and selling the product, then we would never build the best technology we could. Mm-hmm. That's where Vertical Roots came along. We met Andrew Hare and Matt Daniels, who they had a vision of trying to build growing systems indoors. Super sharp guys, and long story short, they ended up on our team, and we formed AmplifiedAg, which was the holding company. And we went, myself and my partners, we went out and raised capital to take it to the next level.
So what in the world, I mean, what do you do day to day? Who did this, when you started selling this? I think I read that your first client was the Citadel. Is that right? So how in the world did you end up just saying, okay, so I have a shipping container and it has lettuce? Yep. What do you think? How do you start pitching that? How are people receiving it? Were they super excited? Charleston's pretty progressive and very into local and natural, so I feel like maybe you did have good reception, but what was that like?
We built a relationship with Grow Food Carolina, which is the food hub downtown. And their mission is to connect farmers with all the local restaurants and some of the retail chains. And as we got further into it, we brought some of the chefs from some of the restaurants to the farms to let them see the product, to taste it. They made some recommendations on what we should be growing. And then very quickly, they were buying our product. They were putting Vertical Roots brand on their menus so that people in the restaurants knew that they were eating locally grown product. And one of the stores that it ended up in was Lowe's Foods in Somerville. Our first farm was in Somerville. We had 6 pods there, and we put product in there. And then a buyer from one of the other retailers happened to be walking through there, saw it, called us, and it's basically that's the way the product grew. And when we raised the capital, we built a good-sized farm in Charleston on Clements Ferry Road. We went through another capital raise and built a large facility in Columbia. So we have 140 plus shipping containers in Columbia now.
Wow.
So the picture behind me is one of those containers. And and then our mission really is to just move through the Southeast.
Wow. I need you to come to the Northeast, 'cause that's where I am. And all of your lettuce looks very delicious back there.
Yes.
I love whenever you're talking about it, that so much of this seems like it just does come out of a community approach. Like, you know, to use the word organic, it seems like your company has really grown organically in that way, and the ideas around it. Do you feel like your company just does keep evolving the more you learn from the community or talk to them and they're out there?
Ultimately, the vision and the mission of the company is just that. And we encourage the local farmers, the farmers that work for us, for Vertical Roots. A lot of them join the company because of the mission, and they have organizations that they're associated with. And, you know, so we continue to try to facilitate that growth. And when we move to the next location, we'll take that same approach.
During my interview with Jessica, she mentioned that there were school kids who came through and toured it. Do you have outside groups come in who are so interested in seeing the farms?
We have a community farm that we refer to as a community farm in Charleston, and we would bring school groups of kids, classes through it. It's like the perfect STEM environment. It has, literally STEM, that it has every possible technology and horticulture and logistics and manufacturing and everything all kind of bundled up under one umbrella.
I love that. I love that it's just, I mean, you never think of farming as technology, but everything you're doing is.
Right.
It's so cool. What have you